Welcome to the Alsco Uniforms It Pays to Keep Clean podcast, where we discuss industry best practices, celebrate big wins, and share stories about Alsco's growth journey. I'm your host, Dana Craig. Thanks for joining us today. Let's see where this episode takes us. Tim Jones, it's good to see you this afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Great to see you.
So regional manager of Region 6, and I think you've just we're a week past your year anniversary or something, so you've survived.
I did, yeah. It's how quickly it went is amazing.
Yes, yeah. I think 2024, and for you, that last quarter of 2023, it's been kind of wild. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your growth journey within your region, how it was getting to know everybody, and I'm sure you're still doing a lot of travel, of course, as you go around. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure. The Region 6 was actually a hybrid of what used to be a couple of regions. That's
so
right.
From a geography standpoint, it goes from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, up to now the suburbs of Boston and over to Western New York. Fortunately, it's coming into a new company and into a business I'm pretty familiar with. It's all I've done in my career. I inherited some really good locations with some really strong leaders at the local level. So other than learning what I needed to learn about the linen business as opposed to the uniform side. The people side has been very easy. And I will say that the thing that has made it the most seamless is just the welcoming attitude. Yeah. Sometimes when you get a new boss per se, you're a little guarded. It's not been the case
you didn't have
at all.
So you've got a diverse geography, diverse market opportunity, therefore, and diverse number of branches. What excites you about 2025? I know 2024 for all of us has been a bit of a growing year, no pun intended, growth is our water, but what does that look like for 25?
I believe for the first time in a long time, I'm going into a new year with momentum, and momentum is one of those things that when you've got it, you think you're never going to lose it. When you lose it, you think you'll never get it back. But we have momentum. The cultural shift throughout the region, from the route ranks, the DM ranks, GM chair, is just been amazing. The way we have come together and truly embraced the growth is our water and the pivot that has been talked about for a number of years. I think it's something that we're truly living in. And now we've seen enough small wins and some not so small wins that we truly believe it's achievable. So I think 25 is going to be a year to be reckoned with.
Yeah, almost like 24 was foundational in a way, getting the engine running, and now you're running and you're off. So you mentioned a few big wins. I want to talk about a few of those. Most notably, the Hershey win that we had that's affected that Mid-Atlantic area with the Linen plant. And in a prior episode, Jim and I spoke about that, but I'd like to hear from your perspective since it's been a few months now. And then more recently, we've had the Seneca opportunity that is in the Rochester area. Yeah, in my first 2 days with Alsco last October, I was right here in Salt Lake doing budgets. So again, it's time has flown. Yeah. It was during those first 2 days I was introduced to Hershey. The things that we talked about and planned for from a budgeting perspective and a processing perspective, how we thought it would play out, not a whole lot of that came to fruition in the way we thought it would. But so fast forward from that October to early June of 24 when we went live with it, as much as we thought we were ready to take in such a large customer with a lot of moving parts, we weren't ready. We quickly figured it out and had to call a lot of audibles to take care of the customer and deliver on what we had committed. But man, we have learned so much in that process, and we've gotten so much better. And the thing that I think was eye-opening for the leadership, myself included, and up the chain, is the level of talent and commitment and community that we have within Alsco. While this
the Hershey account was to be serviced in one processing location. It ended up touching 6 locations.
Right. And we're lucky to be dense enough really along there to be able to have that opportunity.
And in subsequent meetings with Hershey, that was one of the things that drew them to Alsco, is that the bandwidth,
some
to use their word.
if we needed it.
That if if something goes wrong here, we're not vulnerable because, hey, there's one down the street, and the commonality between the two was there. So, again, it was, it's been exciting, and we've learned a great deal, and that has really helped us what I believe will be a much more seamless assimilation of the Seneca business.
Right.
That we are.
Well, it's nice to have the opportunity to repeat, not the same, but a similar experience quite quickly, so that you take advantage of those learnings immediately, rather than having to be, remember that time when?
Exactly.
So you had that opportunity with Seneca. So talk a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I learned is, while I was very familiar with all of the intel that we had on Hershey, and that intel was based on the sales organization being on site many, many times and having intimate knowledge of what their expectations were. I had not been there. With Seneca, I made it a point to be there before we installed the first garment or washed the first bed linen, just to walk every inch of the property to see where clean's going, where soil is being picked up, who are the points of contact, to introduce to the points of contact the RSR, the route driver that's going to be taking care of them. We provided them with a point of contact sheet with all manner of communication, myself included. Here's who you can call them anytime. So the fact that I was there, now I can speak to it better and help local leadership in Rochester, who will be servicing Seneca, kind of troubleshoot if something doesn't go exactly as we thought it would.
Right. Yeah, so it sounds like we're on the better side of Hershey for sure.
Absolutely.
And took those learnings into Seneca, which is really good to see. And then you had another big win this year as well in terms of an acquisition. So middle of September, Alsco transacted the Churchill Acquisition Linen, which was 3 locations, and then some depot business in the Philadelphia downtown area. What was exciting about that opportunity? Why was that something you pushed to pursue?
Yeah, so the Churchill, or Project Provincetown, we had the coolest names for things that are covert.
That's the most fun part of an acquisition.
So Churchill was going strong through the early makings of the due diligence, and then it kind of went cold. And thank goodness it was revived. I was a strong proponent before I was with Alsco in a W-2 capacity. I worked on Churchill and toured the facilities, met with the owner, one of the owners, and thought it was a great fit. It was my understanding that Alsco wants to be in the Northeast, needs to be in the Northeast, and I agree, we absolutely do need to be. But the mere fact that when you look at I don't think a lot of people realize that when you look at just the sheer economy of Boston and the outlying areas, it's $500 billion. Yeah. It's like the second or third largest economies of any metropolitan area. And, so the fact that we are in growth mode, what better place to exercise and act on that than to be in that Northeast?
Opens up an entire new market, that entire corridor, because we kind of went Delaware and then a little bit to the west with Rochester, and then we're just
had
nothing.
That void.
And now we've got something. And like you said, dense, mature market there that I think we're excited.
And endless opportunities. There is, we have a lot of competition there. We don't really have competition. It's a lot of independence. And we have, I think it was Ben Fox made the comment a few times about we need to be seen as market disruptors. Well, we have done that. There was recently a meeting over in Cape Cod of the area providers that participate in that market, and we were the topic of conversation. And it was more through the lens of, what are we going to do? Alsco's here now. And we are going to hit that market, with our processes, our proven methods of providing high quality product and service, but also we're going to saturate that market with highly talented, driven sales consultants to further grow our footprint up there.
Yeah. Not only with new customers, but I would imagine greater penetration into
Absolutely.
existing customers because Churchill, largely food and beverage, largely linen. And so there's a lot of opportunity there for us to come in with additional product lines and solve other problems for those customers.
Yeah, that's been a great source of excitement for the sales consultants that were on board that came with the acquisition. Like now they have a bigger enterprise they go to market with. And from the service leadership standpoint and down to the route drivers, RSRs, they have more tools in their arsenal to grow within their accounts. And because we know that the more lines of service you can get in any customer, the less likely it is for the customer to leave you if a competitor comes in because you've got more hooks in the business, so to speak.
Right. It's stickier.
It's stickier business.
You've had to build a bigger relationship because you're talking to them about more things inside of their business.
But you know, the biggest thing, Dana, that I've seen with Churchill is, it appears to be exactly what we thought it would be. Really good business. They have a great reputation.
Yes.
But we acquired a lot of really good people. And I've been fortunate to be a part of a number of acquisitions. And sometimes when the honeymoon was over, you're like, oh my gosh, had I only known.
Right.
I haven't had that moment yet. And I don't think I will because the employees there were as excited to have Alsco as we were to have Churchill because they wanted to be a part of a very large, thriving business that they say they work for one of the biggest and the best. And Alsco is certainly that.
Yeah. And I've sensed that too, a readiness and a willingness, a real interest in trying to talk about what comes next. And of course, this is a long-term proposition. It's not something where we just put pen to paper and wham, bam, you're Alsco, we move on. There's a lot more work to be done, and I know you know that, and we'll have multiple phases of growth there and getting those businesses and processes in order. It
was exciting for me being there that transition week when we were aggressively onboarding folks and just kind of hitting the ground running. But it was eye-opening to me to look, at the level of support we had from the Alsco side, from all over. And the things that people were doing that were outside of their core competency. I roll up to Hyannis and I see this gentleman that was scraping DOT numbers off of trucks. And I introduced myself only to learn he's the IT person, Joey. And I was like, well, what are you doing that for? He said, well, it's got to be done. I like messing with vehicles. So it was truly an example of we would do anything and everything to make it as seamless of a transition as we needed to, and it was just a roll up your sleeves and get after it. And well, what I loved about it too, because we had 3 locations to tackle kind of all at that same time. I think we deployed between those 3 locations somewhere around 30 people, Alsco corporate people to help. And we were able to get people from branches as well as from other regions. So it was really a team effort, not just people from Region 6, right? But from everywhere. And it allows them to be part of this really exciting part of Alsco's journey, and I think they all enjoyed it, even though it was a crazy week. And it wasn't without personal sacrifice. No. These folks traveled in on Sunday.
Right.
Some people, present company included, stayed through weekends, just because that's what the job required to make it as seamless as we could. So we didn't disrupt the customers, and we made it the least amount painful we could for the employees that were kind of a little nervous and anxious about what lie ahead.
Yeah, curious and wondering. Well, that's great. I'm really excited to see how that unfolds throughout the year. Any final comments or thoughts that you'd?
No. Again, it's been a wonderful first year. And I'm not saying that because I'm being recorded. It's truly been a wonderful first year. And I've always, again, having grown up in this business, first job out of college was as a management trainee. And I love to tell the story that as a young kid growing up in Tampa, Florida, I was probably in 6th or 7th grade. I think it was maybe my second time in the 6th grade. I'm not sure, but my grandmother.
That's why you're confused about 6 or 7. Is that
they kind of run together?
Okay. So math's not your thing.
My grandmother came to visit and down to Florida, and I had no idea what my grandmother did, and I was surprisingly doing homework, and she said, Timmy, son, you need to study real hard. You'll never have to do what I do. And I said, well, Grandma, what do you do? Well, I fold shop towels. And I was like, Oh my gosh. So she was actually ended up retiring from a commercial laundry, and I ended up in the same business, fast forward through college and come to the same business. But one thing I always admired from the outside looking in is the perceived culture within Alsco. It's and I don't believe it's just because it's a privately held company. I think it's just because of the kind of people that have grown up here and the kind of people that are attracted to Alsco. It's just a very family, welcoming atmosphere. A funny, quick story that kind of certainly epitomizes what I'm describing is several weeks ago, over July 4th weekend, my wife had the misfortune of getting stung by a stingray. And, kind of a fluke. And, so anyway, that happened over a weekend. 3 business days later, I called the general office for something, and it was an IT ticket. And the voice on the other end said, hey, Tim, hey, before we get started, how's your wife's foot doing? I was like, how in the world? 2 people knew about this.
Right.
My boss and I think maybe Jim Kearns, my boss's boss. And now one of the help desk folks in IT said, how's my wife's foot?
No, so that's also, you could put that in the category of gossip, but we'll put it in the category of family concern.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we are definitely the 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon or whatever that game is. So yeah. It helps though to take what is really a large multinational company and help it feel like it's your neighborhood laundry. You know?
Absolutely.
And I think that's something to be
It's
proud
been
of.
a great ride and a lot of runway ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say your ride is just beginning. Well, thank you so much. I'm afraid you're going to have to go back to budget meetings now, but I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks for the opportunity.
That's all for today's episode of the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Alsco uniforms, where we explore the growth and challenges in our industry. Tune in next time for more industry insights, growth strategies, and tales from the field. If you've enjoyed our time together, please leave us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to learn more about our services, visit us at alsco.com. From all of us here at the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast at Alsco Uniforms, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you in the next episode.